I was 46 years old when my mother's voice came back into my life. Not in a dream, not in a memory, not in the soft, imagined way grief sometimes plays tricks on you. It came through my phone speaker at 11:47 p.m., sharp and unmistakably real. The first night it happened, I was standing in my kitchen, barefoot on cold tiles, rinsing a single mug I hadn't even finished. The house was quiet in the way only empty houses are. No television hum, no ticking clock loud enough to matter, just the soft pressure of silence pressing against my ears. Then my phone lit up on the counter. No call, no notification banner, just the screen waking up. And then, musical note. Hush now, little one. Close your eyes. Musical note. My hands froze under the running water. That lullaby. My mother used to sing it every night when I was a child. Every single night, without fail. Even when she was sick. Even when she worked double shifts. Even when she and my father were barely speaking. It was her promise to me. No matter what breaks during the day, the night will end safely. I hadn't heard that song in 9 years. My phone wasn't playing music. It was playing a voicemail. A voicemail dated March 12, 2003. I dropped the mug. It shattered in the sink, ceramic splitting like brittle bone, but I didn't feel the cut on my finger. I didn't feel anything except the way my chest tightened, like someone had wrapped wire around my ribs and started pulling. The voicemail kept playing. Her voice was warm, steady, smiling in that way you could hear, even without seeing her face. "Sleep now, baby," she whispered in the recording. "I'm right here," I whispered back without thinking. "Mom?" The voicemail ended. The screen went black. The kitchen felt suddenly wrong, larger than it should have been. The shadows near the hallway stretched longer than they had any right to, like they were leaning in to listen. I checked my call log. Nothing. No missed calls. No outgoing calls. No record of the voicemail being accessed. Except it had played. I sat at the table until nearly 2 in the morning, phone clutched in my hand like it might disappear if I let go. When exhaustion finally pulled me under, I slept with the lights on, something I hadn't done since childhood. The next night, it happened again. 11:47 p.m. Exactly. This time, I was ready. I sat on my bed with my phone in my lap, screen unlocked, volume up. I told myself it was a glitch. Old data resurfacing, some corrupted cloud backup. Technology doing what it does best, confusing the living. The screen lit up. The same voicemail. But the lullaby was different. Same melody. Different words. Musical note. Stay in bed tonight. Don't turn the light. Musical note. My stomach dropped. That wasn't part of the song. My mother never sang that line. I knew every version, every variation, every tired hum when she thought I was already asleep. The message ended abruptly. Then, for the first time, text appeared on my lock screen. Lights off. Don't check the window. I stared at the words until they blurred. This wasn't nostalgia. This wasn't grief. This was communication. I didn't check the window. I didn't sleep either. By the third night, I was unraveling. I hadn't told anyone. Not my sister, not my friends, not even my therapist. Saying it out loud felt like inviting something in, like acknowledging the voice would give it permission to stay. At 11:46 p.m., I started recording my phone with my tablet, proof for myself if nothing else. At 11:47 p.m., the voicemail played. This time, my mother wasn't singing. She was crying, soft at first, controlled, the way she cried when she thought I couldn't hear her through the bathroom door when I was little. "I'm sorry," her voice whispered. "I should have warned you sooner." My throat closed. Warned me about what? The baby monitor in the guest room crackled to life. I don't have children. I haven't owned a baby monitor in over 20 years. Static hissed. Then, footsteps, small, careful, moving across a wooden floor. My guest room doesn't have wooden floors. I stood up slowly, every instinct screaming, "Don't move." But grief is louder than fear when it's had enough years to ferment. I walked down the hallway. The guest room door was open. Inside, the baby monitor glowed softly on the dresser, green light pulsing. And on the screen, nothing. No child, no movement. Just the corner of the room, and a shadow that didn't belong to anything standing there. Behind me, my phone buzzed one last time. A final message appeared, written in the same simple font my mother used to type with. 2 spaces after every period. "If you can hear me again tomorrow night, it means you didn't listen the first time." I turned around. The hallway was darker than before, and somewhere in the house, something shifted its weight. Slow, deliberate, like it knew I was finally paying attention. Part 2. The lullaby that started predicting tomorrow. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even lie down. I sat on the edge of my bed until dawn, my phone face down on the mattress like it might watch me back if I let the screen glow. Every creak of the house sounded intentional now, no longer random settling noises, but movements with purpose. The refrigerator hum felt louder. The air vents whispered, like they were passing messages to each other. And the guest room. I didn't go back inside it. I closed the door from the hallway, turned the lock, then pushed a chair under the handle like that would matter if something in my house had already learned how to speak in my mother's voice. When the sun finally came up, I felt foolish. Daylight has a way of sanding the sharp edges off fear. By morning, I could almost convince myself I'd imagined the shadow on the baby monitor. That grief, combined with exhaustion, had finally crossed some neurological line. I made coffee, burned the toast, took a shower. I avoided mirrors. At work, I told myself I'd delete the voicemail. I didn't need it. I didn't want it. It was a parasite feeding on my memory. But when I checked my phone during lunch, the voicemail wasn't there. Not deleted. Gone. No record it had ever existed. Except for the new one, waiting underneath. Received. Today. 11:47 p.m. Scheduled. My breath caught. Scheduled? Voicemails don't schedule themselves. I tried to play it. The file was locked. Grayed out. As if time itself had placed a restriction on it. I went home early. At 11:30 p.m., I sat on my couch with every light on, television muted, phone in my hands. I recorded my screen again, my hands visibly shaking this time. I needed proof. For myself. For someone. Anyone. At 11:47 p.m., exactly, the voicemail unlocked. My mother's voice filled the room. But she wasn't singing. She was speaking plainly now. No softness, no lullaby cadence. Tomorrow, she said, you're going to spill coffee on your blouse before you leave the house. I blinked. That blue one you like, she continued. You'll change into the gray sweater instead. Don't wear the blue. The message ended. I stared at the screen, heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. This wasn't a warning. It was a prediction. The next morning, I told myself I wouldn't test it. I reached for a black blouse instead. My hand froze halfway. Something about the way my mother had said the blue one you like felt personal in a way only she could manage. She used to notice those things. Remember them. Protect them. I pulled the blue blouse from my closet. I made coffee. My hand bumped the mug as I turned. Hot liquid spilled straight down the front of my chest. I gasped, dropping the mug as it shattered on the counter. I stood there shaking, coffee dripping onto the floor, my skin stinging, not from heat, but from the realization creeping up my spine. I changed into the gray sweater. Just like she said. That night, the voicemail came again. Earlier this time. 11:12 p.m. Musical note. Sleep now, baby. Lock the door tight. Musical note. I felt my pulse spike. Another message followed immediately after. Text. Don't answer the knock at 2:17 a.m. My chest tightened painfully. I didn't have visitors. I didn't get late-night deliveries. No one knocked on my door after midnight, unless something was very wrong. I checked my security app. All cameras were active. All doors locked. I sat on my couch, staring at the front door, waiting for time to pass. At 2:16 a.m., the air in the room changed. That's the only way I can describe it. Like pressure before a storm. Like the house was holding its breath. At 2:17 a.m., someone knocked. 3 slow taps. Not loud. Not urgent. Patient. My phone buzzed in my hand. Another message. Good. Stay still. The knocking came again. Closer this time. From inside the house. From the hallway. From just outside the guest room door. I covered my mouth to keep from making a sound. The knocking stopped. Footsteps followed. Slow. Heavy. Dragging slightly. Like someone unfamiliar with how weight worked. The baby monitor crackled again. A whisper slipped through the static. Mom. I squeezed my eyes shut. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I didn't answer. Eventually, the house went quiet again. Too quiet. The next morning, I found fingerprints on the inside of the guest room door. Small. Child-sized. Pressed into the wood from the inside. And written above them, carved shallowly with something sharp. She didn't listen the first time either. I sat on the floor and cried until my throat ached. Because I finally understood something I'd been avoiding since the first voicemail. This wasn't my mother coming back to comfort me. This was my mother trying to save me. From something that knew my name. And was learning her voice. Part 3. The voice that started correcting the past. I didn't call the police. I didn't call a therapist. I didn't call anyone. Because how do you explain that the dead aren't just talking to you, but editing your life in advance? I took the guest room door off its hinges that morning. I didn't open it. I unscrewed the hinges slowly, like the wood might scream if I rushed. The fingerprints were gone. The carved sentence. Gone too. The door was clean, smooth, untouched, as if the night had erased itself. But the smell inside the room hadn't changed. That old, stale scent, dust, and something sweet beneath it, like baby powder left too long in the dark. The crib was exactly where I'd left it years ago. Untouched. Waiting. I backed out of the room and shut the door again. Some doors don't need hinges to stay closed. The voicemail came earlier that night, 10:03 p.m. My mother didn't sound gentle anymore. She sounded tired. "Listen carefully," she said. "This part matters." I pressed the phone to my ear like it might slip away if I didn't hold it tight enough. "You're remembering things wrong," she continued. "Not because you want to, but because you were helped to forget." My stomach turned. "Helped? You think your daughter died in her sleep," she said softly. "You think it was sudden, peaceful, natural." My hands started shaking. That's not what happened. I felt something inside me recoil violently, like my mind itself was stepping backward. "No," I whispered, even though she couldn't hear me. "That's not true. You weren't in the room," my mother said. "That's what you remember, that you woke up and found her gone." I nodded, instinctively. "Yes, that's how it happened. That's what I told myself for 12 years. You weren't in the room," she repeated, "because you weren't allowed to be." The line went dead. That night, I dreamed of the guest room, but it wasn't empty. It was furnished differently. New paint, fresh carpet, sunlight pouring through the window. My daughter stood in the center, older than she ever got to be. 6, maybe 7. She looked at me with an expression I didn't recognize. "Disappointment. You left," she said. I woke up screaming. The next day, my phone gallery changed. Photos I didn't remember taking appeared between old ones. Images of the guest room before it became a shrine. The crib assembled, toys scattered, a mobile hanging from the ceiling, and in the reflection of the window glass, a man standing behind me. Blurry. Tall, featureless. Watching. I zoomed in until the pixels broke apart. My phone buzzed. A text. "He hates being remembered." My chest tightened painfully. I sat down hard on the couch, my legs barely holding me up. Another message followed. "That's why he made you forget." That night, the lullaby came back. But it wasn't my mother singing this time. It was me. My own voice, older, strained, layered with exhaustion and urgency. Musical note. "Hush now. Don't trust what you see." Musical note. I dropped the phone like it burned. Another voicemail unlocked. My voice again. "This is the part where you stop pretending," it said. "You didn't just lose her." The sound of breathing, ragged, panicked. "You handed her over." I covered my ears. "No," I sobbed. "I would never." "You thought he was helping," my future voice continued. "You thought he was protecting her." My heart slammed violently against my ribs. Fragments started surfacing. Images I'd buried so deep they'd become abstract. A man at the door. Polite. Calm. Soft-spoken. A neighbor. Someone who knew about children. Someone who told me I looked tired. Someone who offered to watch her while I slept. Someone whose shadow never quite matched his body. The baby monitor turned on by itself. Static hissed. Then a shape appeared on the screen. Not a child. Not anymore. Tall. Bent. At unnatural angles. Standing beside the crib. My daughter's voice whispered faintly through the speaker. "Mom, he doesn't like it when you remember." My phone vibrated violently. Another message. "He's losing control." That's dangerous. The screen went black. Every light in the house shut off at once. And in the darkness, something laughed. Close. Right behind me. Part 4. The night the truth finally spoke back. The laugh wasn't loud. That was the worst part. It was low, controlled, like someone amused that I'd finally caught up. I stood frozen in the dark, my back pressed against the wall, heart pounding so hard it blurred my vision. The baby monitor lay shattered on the floor, its screen spider-webbed, still glowing faintly. "Sarah," a voice said softly. Not my daughter's, not my mother's, his. The lights flickered back on, one by one, as if the house itself was taking a breath. He stood in the doorway of the guest room, not fully visible, no sharp edges, no clear face, just a shape that felt wrong, like a shadow pretending to be a man. His outlines shimmered, bending slightly, as if reality struggled to agree on his size. "You remember now," he said. I shook my head violently. "You're not real." He smiled. "I've always been real," he replied. "You just preferred forgetting." My phone buzzed in my trembling hand. A final voicemail unlocked automatically. My voice filled the room again, older, steadier, but broken. "This is the last message, Sarah. If you're hearing this, then I failed to stop him the first time. So listen carefully. Don't argue. Don't run." The shadow shifted closer. "He feeds on erased choices," my future self continued. "On mothers who forgive themselves too easily. On grief that gets tucked away instead of faced. Tears streamed down my face. I didn't know, I whispered. I didn't know. The shadow tilted its head. You knew enough. It said gently. You were tired. You were alone. You wanted help. Memories slammed into me all at once. The night she wouldn't stop crying. The knock at the door. His voice. Kind. Reassuring. I can take her for a bit. Let you rest. I remembered handing her over. I remembered closing the door. I remembered choosing sleep. I collapsed to my knees, a sound tearing out of me that didn't feel human. My future voice spoke again, sharper now. This is where it changes. You don't beg. You don't bargain. You don't try to undo it. The shadow's form wavered, as if irritated. You already did undo it, he said. You erased yourself. My phone screen lit up with something new, a video. It was me, older, scarred by time, eyes hollow but determined, standing in this very room. I didn't come back to save her, future me said. I came back to stop you. The shadow hissed. Time felt thick, syrupy, like the air itself resisted movement. You can't remove me, he growled. I exist where guilt exists. Future me looked directly at me through the screen. He's right, but guilt only survives in silence. She took a breath. Sarah, tell the truth. My chest burned. The house groaned, walls creaking as if under pressure. I gave her to him, I said aloud, voice shaking. I chose sleep over my child. The shadow recoiled slightly. I let her go. I continued, louder now. I made that choice. The room trembled. The guest room door slammed shut behind him. The shadow screamed, not in pain, but in fury. You don't get absolution, he snapped. You don't get peace. Future me's voice softened. No, but she gets honesty. I stood up, legs unsteady but planted. I remember, I said. I don't forgive myself. And I don't forget. The shadow began to unravel, its edges tearing like smoke and wind. No, it snarled. You need me. I shook my head through tears. I needed you when I was silent. The house went still. The shadow collapsed inward, folding into itself, shrinking until it vanished completely, like a lie that finally ran out of space. The lights steadied. The air felt lighter. My phone chimed once more. A final message from my future self. This is where I disappear. You won't hear from me again. Live with the truth. Tell it. That's how he stays gone. The screen went dark. The guest room never changed back. I removed the crib. I painted the walls. I turned it into a place where no one waited. And every year, on her birthday, I tell the story. Not the gentle version. Not the forgiving one. The real one. Because some monsters only exist as long as we lie to ourselves. And some voices come back. Not to haunt us, but to make sure we finally wake up.